Hey, art nerds! So we are off to go enjoy Cheekwood. Won't you guys come enjoy Cheekwood? Wow, tongue twister. Won't you guys come and join? Wow, can't even do it. Won't you guys come enjoy? There we go. Cheekwood with us today. Is there a part of Cheekwood you'd like to explore? The Japanese gardens are closed right now.
Yeah, I know. No.
Is there another part?
Fine, just wander around. You can sit for a while and relax.
I've been really stressed out this week just trying to get those classes like promoted and getting people to sign up for them.
She's going to my baby.
I think I've been giving it like a lot of thought, and I think that is the aspect of teaching that I like the absolute least, is being responsible for all that promotion.
Why don't you ask her to do a lean art about it?
Well, I'm recording this as part of my vlog because I feel like Ann Arbor is a much more receptive area to that, and he's had 10 years on me, and then Nashville is. I did not realize Nashville was going to basically be like a cold audience. Like I didn't realize that because it's such a big city. I figured it would be more receptive to like comics and those kinds of arts. Nope. Ah.
Cheeks and the wood started this place. They got married.
Just still stressed out about it.
You're doing what you can right now.
I know. But like, it's also preventing me from focusing on like preparing for SPX, which is also very important.
Yeah, I would say it's more important.
And it also, like, it really messes with my self-esteem this way. Because, like, you think if you're doing a good job, you're going to get support and cross-promotion, and, like, other programs are going to be excited about it. And, like, to me, comics is, in terms of, like, to me, comics is just, like, such a perfect nexus for learning things, right? Like, you're practicing English, like language skills, you're practicing writing skills, you're practicing storytelling skills, you're practicing drawing skills, you're practicing communication skills. It's fun, it's a skill set that a lot of younger people want to have. So like, you would think, I would have thought that like the libraries would be very supportive of it, and
Receptive to
receptive to promoting it. That schools that cannot offer such programs would be receptive to promoting it to their students. That like Metro Arts, things like that would be receptive to promoting it. Or like conventions like MTAC, they make money off of this whole culture of like comics and animation, would be receptive to promoting it because a lot of their attendees are very interested in that. But like, I don't know if I'm not asking for help appropriately, or if community ed is not, they don't understand how important that sort of cross promotion would be, or if they like just can't promote those kind of things. Like, that has not at any point been explained to me. So it's just been like a really stressful challenge, and I feel like every time I teach this class it gets harder and harder instead of easier and easier. Like, the teaching part of it gets easier and easier.
Yeah.
But the promotion part gets harder and harder. And without feedback from NCE on what I'm doing and how I'm promoting, I am running out of ideas.
Yep.
So like, that's,
I think they remulched all this
I think so too.
Yeah,
Well, this
being
kind
very
of,
muddy and it feels
yeah,
fresh
this
and
kind of
nice.
mulch washes away like every time it rains.
I'm not complaining about what
Yeah.
it was. I'm happy with what they've done.
Yeah, I'm saying they probably would have to do that. So it's just been like high on my mind because I have both of those classes, right? I have making comics, which is like the intro level class, and then I have intermediate comics, and I haven't even really been like focusing on, whoa, there's the, what's going to be the children's garden. You can actually see into it from here. I haven't really even been doing a lot to promote intermediate comics because I was so concerned with promoting making comics. And like talking to my mom about it, she was like, well, you've done everything you can. You should, if you can't get enough students, like, you should just accept that. And she was like, and you should see it as a gift. Which, like, the time to work on Kara more, I have been working, like the past month I've been doing promotion and Kara, promotion and Kara, promotion and Kara, right? So I have been working on it. But it's also kind of like, teaching and working outside of the house has given my life more meaning, and it gives my life more value. So I have a vested interest in it succeeding, even in like a small way. And also, like, not that it's like a huge financial contribution. I get paid like $300 if I have a full class, you know, but like, it is still a financial contribution.
Which is probably like 16 an hour or something. No, because I put a lot of hours into prepping for the classes, and I put a lot of hours into preparing the students' work for printing. Yeah.
Yeah, no. No.
Bye.
It quit recording. I don't know where I lost you guys. We were talking about teaching as a way for an artist to make a living, since that is a popular question. And we were also talking about how it does not pay a full-time wage at all. And we were also talking about how I feel like, other than making arrangements for a space and paying for a space, a lot of the promotional efforts that I'm currently doing to get people into the class would be I would be putting the same amount of time in if I was working for myself. I do like having the structure, you know, like I like that they provide the ASAP panel that people can register through. I appreciated that they put together the open house, although attendance...
NCE is nonprofit.
It is.
Name and everything.
Yeah, that's true. And it is connected through Metro Arts. So I was hoping I would see more support from Metro Arts, which has not happened. And I'm one of like 3 art classes. There's there's not many. Oh, yeah, David irregularly offers.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. I meant like one of 3 regular sustained art classes.
Gotcha. Something that's offered basically every semester.
Right, and something that lasts more than 1 class.
Yeah.
Which I think is also like...
Well, a lot of the arts classes spun off in Watkins, you said, right? Like a decade ago or whatever? Or more?
Something, yeah. And NCE was meant to be as like a supplement to Watkins, because Watkins does...
Oh, it's the other way around? I thought NCE came first and then Watkins
No,
came out.
you know, you might know better. You might remember that conversation better than I do. Anyway, I don't want it to like turn into like Becca's just complaining. That wasn't my intention. My intention was just to talk really honestly about being a fairly self-employed artist, and like one of my ways of earning income is through teaching, but how like it's not a for sure thing. Like, even though I'm teaching and you would think teaching is more stable, it's not. I think I get about as much support as like Anime Con artists get from the conventions that they're tabling at. So I think,
That seems about right.
yeah, I think if I had like realized that, I would have been, I think I still would have pursued it, because I was definitely looking to gain more teaching experience, and I was looking for more avenues to earn money and to diversify my income and to use my skills. But it would have just been nice to like realize from the get-go that it was going to be very much like you're promoting your own classes.
Yeah, well, NCE does pay for many of the supplies.
About half. They pay for about half of the supplies, and I pay out of my own pocket the other half.
No.
Yeah. No. I'm not trying to make it sound at all like they are not reliable. Like, they provide a lot of infrastructure. They provide the space. I teach in a classroom in the evenings, which is nice. There's AC, there's heat, there's a projector, there's electricity. Like, I'm not responsible for those things. The class that comes before me is a sewing class, and they leave their pins and their scraps and their garbage all over the place. But I feel like that teacher should be responsible for cleaning up after her own mess.
They are directly responsible.
Well,
You tell them that, right?
I think, yeah, you're not supposed to leave a mess. And there's like an hour and a half between classes, so I don't necessarily think like saying you didn't have time to clean up is a good excuse, because I clean up after my students. And when we're doing inking, it takes me about an hour of setup ahead of time and an hour of cleaning up after. So anyway, that starts this Thursday, actually, at 6. So if you're like in Nashville and you're hearing me talk about all of the nuts and bolts, and you're interested in coming and
someone else is
or you know someone else who's interested, so I had to get special permission for this, because community ed is considered like an adult education program, but Nashville schools have really been cutting their arts funding, so I got permission to extend the class to like 13-year-olds who are taking the class with a parent or a guardian, and 16-year-olds can take the class on their own. And I really like having a wider gamut of ages, because I think it brings freshness to the classroom. My younger students are more willing to answer questions. They're not afraid of looking quote unquote dumb. Not that they ever do. And my older students bring a lot of life experience to the class, which is nice. And it means we get like a really interesting gamut of ideas for zines and comics. So I really like the fact that I'm really trying to avoid
So we're talking about SPX, and I brought up that it would be helpful to update your online portfolio,
Yeah.
which hasn't been updated for about 3 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
It's a Webflow portfolio, and Joseph suggested I do Webflow. And if you're an artist, Webflow is not a good portfolio platform for you because we have too many images, and we also need multiple pages, and we also need to be able to move things around. And Webflow...
You're talking about the free version of Webflow.
Yeah, I'm talking about the free version of Webflow. And Webflow, for the free version, does not like any of those things.
You can move things around, but you can't have more than 2 pages without paying.
Yeah. So, he asked if I was going to redo it tomorrow, and I said no because I'm still working on finishing that Naomi chapter I
It
showed
was
you
about
guys yesterday.
a week and a half before SPX.
No, it's about, technically it's 2 weeks, but I'm leaving on Thursday. I'm flying out on Thursday. So, and also so that's actually a really, really, really good question. Because now we're getting into the notion of like, do I focus on preparing for my classes? Do I focus on, which the answer is yes, because I'm getting paid to do that. It's their priority. Do I focus on re-upping my merch for SPX so I have like enough zines, enough mini prints, enough stickers? Do I focus on making new merch for SPX? Or do I focus on all the back-end online stuff if people were to click through my links? And there's only a limited amount of time, and all of those things take a really long amount of time for me to do them. So I hadn't even thought, I've been thinking I need to redo my portfolio. It's 2 years old. I'm not really happy with Webflow. I would like to move away from it. But it's also like...
So this is me narrating on top of the video. I don't know what's going on with my phone, but the audio keeps cutting out, so I've been cutting out those pieces. I do apologize for those of you who are finding it difficult to listen to. It could be one of several problems, and I am working on fixing that issue, so my apologies. Now, as an antidote to all the complaining, here is some beautiful nature. Beautiful Joseph in his native habitat, the Botanical Garden.
Native my butt. I come here like every month.
No, like once every 2 weeks. I think. gonna kiss me? How dare you?
Maybe if you press the button one time, it'll switch to selfie. Forget.
It does smell pretty. I was just thinking it's so peaceful. Like, my anxiety. I don't know, give me a sec. I'm looking at these Asteraceae. Those little things? Probably. They sure look succulent.
You mean like delicious?
No, well, I would not eat succulents. Probably. I don't know if I was able to get a photo of that butterfly, but I sure tried. She's hard to see. Ginkgo. And it is. Think you can get rid of the mushy in my brain meat? That's a beautiful view. That's a ginkgo. That's pronounced ginkgo.
Ginkgo, like the mushishi, is ginkgo.
My phone says I have 15% left. I can never get any video of this cute cottage because it's usually pretty full of kiddos. I think this is like the first time I've ever been able to... Wow, somebody broke the door. I wonder if they were swinging on it. When I was a kid, my papa would always tell me not to swing on the gate because we'd break it because he'd balanced it. There is so much gravel. Oh, you can leave. Oh, do it again, please. Where are you going with that wheelbarrow full of goods?
Bark store.
Bark store.
Okay guys, we had a really good time at Cheekwood. It was very enjoyable. Oh, there's a wedding party standing in the way of traffic because that's what you do. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me on my journey to Cheekwood and for letting me vent about some of the stuff that's on my plate and going on in my life. I hope for younger artists who are looking to make a living in the arts, that's something that you'll take into consideration and be aware of, because I do think knowledge kind of helps you prepare. And if you go into a situation having an accurate understanding of what's going to be expected of you, and sometimes that is not explained by the people hiring you, then you will just overall have better feelings about the experience when you know what expectations are and when you know what you're going to have to compensate with. Covering it up.
Okay, so for all that bitter, let's have some sweet. Let's talk about some ways if you were promoting a class that you could promote your class. First of all, there's one very important distinction you need to know. Is your class hosted by a for-profit or a not-for-profit? Because that is going to make a big difference in what kind of places will let you promote your stuff. So in Nashville, and I can't speak, I don't know if it's a corporate policy, if it's a Nashville policy, or if it's a individual manager's policy, but Nashville Starbucks, if you're doing a not-for-profit and it's like a class or a community event, they will usually let you put it up on the boards, but you do need to ask, because if you don't ask, they will remove it. The library in general is supposed to promote not-for-profit things in the community, but some of them don't understand, or some of the librarians I've talked to don't understand that something can be a not-for-profit like community ed, but still charge money for the classes because they're providing the materials. So if that's the case, you may need to talk to somebody higher up, you may need to email somebody, but if your class is definitely held by a not-for-profit, and most community eds are considered not-for-profit, but you should double check. If your class is being held by a not-for-profit, even if it's charging money, then you should be able to put it up in the library, but you may need to talk to a few different people to work that out. And sometimes it's not worth the fight because leaving a bad impression, making an enemy, it's not really worth that. So that's something to keep in mind. Depending on what kind of class you're offering, local coffee shops can be a really good option for you, as well as community boards. So I have printed out flyers. I used Canva, like the free version of Canva, to design flyers, and I print them out 4 to a sheet and cut them out myself using my little paper cutter. So it's pretty DIY, fairly low cost, but it is a lot of work and a lot of effort on my end. I have put them up at like several different Starbuckses. I've hit several different libraries, and they're like, well, yeah, you can leave some, but we have to talk to our manager about it. So I don't know if those ever went up. I put it up at Fido, which is a local coffee shop. I put it up at Three Brothers / Cumberland Transit. I've put it up, sometimes I'll go over to the other side of town and put them up at Rick's. They're really nice about it because I am teaching a comics class. There's a bar / like hangout spot next to Rick's that has like a lot of, it's got like apples to apples, and it's got like other kind of game things. It's like a restaurant bar. Anyway, they've put my flyers up before. So places like that, if you're doing something like zine or comic related, or like a Dr. Sketchy's group, those could all be really good options. I've also been frequently posting about it on my Instagram, on my Twitter, on my Facebook. I have a Natto Soup page on Facebook that I posted to. I've created events. I posted about it on Next Door Neighbor. Talked about it on YouTube. I posted about it on YouTube. I plug it during my live streams. So I basically try to find as many opportunities to talk about my classes as possible. I've also asked MTAC, Metro Arts, and Nashville Scene, and Nashville Metro Gov on Twitter to all retweet it. So you just have to, if you're promoting something and it's like a class or it's an event, you just have to get really comfortable with reaching out to people and getting ghosted or getting rejected or getting like a half-hearted response, because eventually, sometimes you will get positive responses. Oh, I've also put flyers up at the local Plaza Art, so that's an art store, and the local Jury's Artorama, which is another art store. And I meant to bring flyers with me today, and I forgot. So I would say I've hit about 10 different places in the Nashville area, mostly centered around the Cohn School area, but also Weston, because that's the area I live in. It might behoove me to spread further out, but I guess I feel like if people are having to drive 40 minutes out to take a class, they're probably not going to do that every week. So I haven't really made it a big point to go to like Franklin and Murfreesboro and Smyrna. So there's just, when you're promoting a class for yourself, there is just a lot of like generating graphics, generating hype, sharing pictures to get people excited about it, posting about it as much as possible. And I wouldn't mind sharing it on my social media at all, but I've done polls before to find out like kind of where people live, to see if me promoting these classes and the classes I teach in Louisiana are beneficial. And the answer is not really. So that's definitely a frustration for me, because it's like, okay, I've worked really hard to build up this large audience, but not many people actually live in the area where I live. So like, does it do me any good to promote it at all? I still think it does good to promote it, because there are people who, like, friends will reblog it and you don't know who they know, and sometimes companies will reblog it. So there's always like a positive reason to that. It's just juggling like how often you post and how often you post promotional stuff, because people definitely get fatigued seeing nothing but shill all the time. And I've been kind of like, I've been working on that bonus Naomi chapter, and I haven't really been making a lot of additional art. So it's been harder for me to balance that, because I just don't have the free time to create additional art, to create additional content, to kind of balance out all the promotion. And when I'm promoting things like that, I have to, so when you're an artist, sometimes your private life and your professional life become way too intertwined, and it's hard to draw a distinct line. So like my Twitter, for example, like, I like to also just talk on it. I like to talk about things that I enjoy. I like to talk about things critically. I like to talk about what's going on in my day. I like to talk about my private life to an extent. And I feel like when I'm promoting classes, I can't talk about my own life as much, so I have to detach as a human. And I don't know if that's just like me getting too much in my own head, or if like that's common sense breaking through. So that's something else to keep in mind, like depending on the audience you're trying to reach, depending on the area of the country you live in, depending on your existing audience. If you tend to be over dramatic or complain a lot, it might be a little bit of a tonal shift if you like turn around and you're like, come take my classes at Michael's, guys. But I don't know, your audience might be like, oh, okay, sure. You know, like, it really depends on you and the kind of people who are interested in your work and the kind of work you're doing and the kind of class you're trying to fill. So you can take what I say with kind of a grain of salt. Oh, we've also taken out and paid for ads on Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram. We've done that a few other times, and it's mostly to promote the Making Comics class, so the introductory comics class. And I think we've spent $13 on Facebook on this round of that class so far. The summer class that I told y'all earlier that I had to cancel, we paid to advertise for that as well. That's not something I've discussed with NCE. I don't think NCE pays for any advertisement in that regard. But that's something I'm doing out of my own pocket to try and better reach people in this area who might be interested in those classes. But I kind of feel like posting on Next Door Neighbor was the most beneficial of all, because that's for this immediate area, and it's people who are at home. Maybe they're looking for stuff to do, or they're looking for stuff for their kids to do. So that could be, rather than people who are just like idly scrolling through their phones, because that's what, like, if you're doing a Facebook ad, you're basically trying to like redirect their attention. If you're doing an Instagram ad, you're trying to redirect their attention. And then I always feel like ads where you're directly trying to sell something are probably a harder sell than,
I mean, that's most ads, right? But we also took out ads when we were doing the giveaway so that we could better learn how to use these ad platforms. And I feel like that was easier to get people to sign up than, because they're not paying anything. They're just signing up for a mailing list. And even then, they don't have to sign up for the mailing list. I felt like that was a much easier sell than the comics class. So, like I said earlier, I'm sharing this information because teaching is a very viable way to make money as an artist. It's not a very lucrative way, but it is a method of making money and putting your skills to use, helping your local community, helping other people, and just generally contributing to a different idea of what artist life looks like. So I want you guys to be aware that it is an option, and I also want you to know what you may have to do in order to do it, because it is much more than just rolling into the classroom with just your materials and just your examples and everything being set up for you. When you're teaching like community ed or you're teaching classes through art classes, you're providing a lot of the materials, you're doing pretty much all of the promotion, you're creating the class from scratch. So there's a lot of extra stuff that goes into it. Don't adjust your dial. This is not a tutorial. This is still part of the vlog. Even on days that I have off, and I can't even do like the air quotes because my hands are so cramped up. Even on days that I have off or I'm like using for other things, I'm still usually also drawing, or frequently I'm also recording. So after I've recorded that bit where I talked to you guys about ways that I've promoted my classes, I wrote and sent out an email. Okay, I wrote and scheduled a blog post to go up on Monday for my From Stick to Figure class. I wrote an email blast to send to people on my classes mailing list, not my class mailing list, but my classes mailing list, about my upcoming classes. And then I sent the same email out to people who'd already taken my classes before to let them know about that. And then I recorded audio for a little video film about those same classes. So I feel like I'm just always in a state of self-promotion, and sometimes it gets a little bit annoying because I definitely feel like I spend more time promoting things than I often get to work on them. So I kind of look forward to a day when things are more settled, maybe I'm more established, and I can just focus on making cool things and creating more cool content. But it's been 10 years and that hasn't happened, so perhaps my life will always be promoting the next thing. So right now I am penciling the spread for this bonus chapter that I've been talking about so very often. My art nerds have already gotten a few of the tutorials that I've been recording for this, and I actually need to write my patron update. Well, it's written, I just need to finish it and schedule it. I wrote that last night. But, you know, sometimes people think when you work from home that you don't do anything all day or your day is free or whatever. You definitely do find ways to fill it. There's definitely things you're filling your time with. I feel like there's always something that I'm working on, even when I should be taking a break and resting. I'm always working on something. I'm either editing videos, or I'm recording narration, or I'm working on comics, or I'm scheduling comics, or I'm promoting comics, or I'm working on the blog, or I'm working on Patreon stuff, or I'm streaming, or I'm teaching classes. Like, I'm just always hustling, which is fine. I think I've mentioned in the My Life with ADHD series that like I like keeping busy, so even if I wasn't busy, I would make myself busy, which I think is pretty evidenced by every time I go to Louisiana, I end up doing a Dollar Tree review series. Like, I don't have to do that. Nobody's telling me I have to do that, but I do it anyway. I get bored pretty easily, which is, I guess one of the reasons I learned how to draw. So anyway, with this spread, I've already inked everything I need to ink for this, so it's just doing tight pencils because this is, it's both a flashback and Naomi is narrating the events of her day to Kara, but it's not quite the same as what she's telling Kara. She kind of sugarcoats it, so
I'm doing it in kind of a slightly different style, and like all the background characters aren't rendered out at all, and hopefully that's going to kind of give this impression of like detachment and maybe unreliable narrator. And this isn't even going to go live for like the next two years almost. It'll be in the book, so people who back the Kickstarter will have this way before everybody else, but it's not going to go live on the webcomic until a long time from now, 2 years from now. Which, I know like for some artists that gap between like what you're working on and when people are going to see it really bothers them. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm actually kind of grateful for it because my work is not particularly popular. So a lot of what I'm doing is self-driven, and then I do stuff that's aimed at all ages and kids. So like, even though I do this as a webcomic also, my primary focus is really the fact that it's like the print comic of it. So like the primary audience that I'm creating this for, they're going to have access to this much sooner than everyone else. And they're kind of they're the ones that I care about pleasing, I guess. I wanted to do webcomics when I was a kid. Like that was one of my big driving things. I was really inspired by Keenspot and Keenspace, which was a comics collective in the early 2000s. But after I went to SCAD, I realized I wanted to do more print comic stuff because I really like the collaborative nature of doing print comics, where you're working with a publisher and you're working with an editor. And my print comics don't necessarily follow that since they're self-published, but I think I've just like developed a stronger appreciation for having a physical object. Like I back a lot of webcomic Kickstarters so I can read the comic as a book because I'm not able to keep up with it as an online comic. And like part of me understands that that's the kiss of death. Like I know that, okay? Like I know if you don't support the content you enjoy and you're always waiting until they publish it or they release it in some form that's easier for you to digest, you've probably killed the project, because to get to that point takes a lot of time and a lot of money. I know that firsthand. So I try to kind of mitigate that by also, if I'm really passionate about the project or if I'm friends with the creator, I'll also support them on Patreon. And, you know, I'll also like signal boost their stuff on Twitter, stuff like that. Because I'm not rich. I used to try to support as many projects as possible because I was a really big believer in like supporting the industry that you want to go into and supporting other artists. And I don't know. I don't have the money for that anymore, so I kind of reserve that more for like my friends and for projects that I really truly adore and want to see succeed for personal reasons. And perhaps when I'm more financially solvent, I can go back to being a little bit more altruistic. But I quit doing that this year, so I spent 9 years doing that. So I don't really feel any guilt for not being able to do it at this point. 9 years is a good run. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope this was helpful, useful, and informative for you guys. I hope it shed a little bit of light for those of you who are interested in becoming a professional artist, or for those of you who are thinking of switching away from the type of freelance where you're drawing for people to the type of freelance where you're teaching for people. If you yourself are teaching these sort of classes, hopefully I provided some ideas on how you can promote your own classes, as well as maybe gave you a little bit of insight as to how difficult it can be to promote a class in case it saves you any effort. I definitely think forewarned is forearmed, and I would prefer to be honest with people and let them know what they're in for, and then they can figure things out, rather than oversell something and people end up with kind of the short end of the stick. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the visit to Cheekwood Botanical Garden. If you live in the Nashville area, it is well worth the cost of membership, so you should definitely go check it out and enjoy it. Right now, the children's garden and the Japanese garden are down for renovations, but those should be back this fall, as well as a new hiking trail. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. If you like what I do and you want to help support what I'm doing here, if you live in the Nashville area, please consider signing up for one of the 3 classes. The links for those will be down in the description below. It is a wonderful opportunity to learn hands-on, to get some hands-on comics experience and comic advice from a real comic artist. And the fact that you get to work in a community and collaborative setting is really inspiring for some people. So if you need a fire lit under your butt, taking that kind of a class is a really good low-key, no grades way to do that. If you don't live in the Nashville area, my wonderful art nerds on Patreon have access to everything my students in any of my classes have access to. So if you would like to take a Copic class, if you would like to take my From Stick to Figure class, or if you'd like to take my Making Comics class, head on over to patreon.com/nattosoup and learn more about joining the art nerd community. I promise these kind of vlogs are not going to become the norm, but some of you have said that you enjoyed hanging out with me, and I thought it'd be really fun to share my Labor Day weekend with you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I see you soon. Bye guys!